Never thought I'd have that opportunity. So bet on yourself. Take the chance. You can always recover.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. Nothing you hear on this show is legal or investment advice, nor is it an offer to buy or sell securities. Always consult your own legal and financial professionals before making decisions. Welcome back to Capital Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Dallon Schultz. Really excited to have Dave Hrizak in the studio with us today. Dave is one of the co-founders of Streamlined Capitals and has a very exciting story of how he actually went into retirement in 2021 and decided to come back out of it in 2022. So we're going to get into that story. But Dave has raised over $25 million for his projects in real estate over the last 30 years. So really excited to get into the conversation with Dave to figure out how, Dave, you've just attracted more flow in your personal, professional life that's led to your success. So Dave, really appreciate you being in with us.
Thank you very much for having me today. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you.
And just found out that this is your actual first in-studio podcast. So we're honored you took some time to spend some time with us today. So Dave, I like to start out in the first few minutes just having our guests share a little bit about their background and their story and how they got to where they are today. So when did this journey in real estate really begin for you?
Well, let's go way back. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. No father figure in my life. Mom was always working long hours. So it was my 4'9" grandmother who taught me the streets of the south side of Chicago, taught me my work ethic, my loyalty, my dedication, and my hard work. She never learned how to drive. We had to either walk the streets or take the city bus on the south side of Chicago. And everything that she taught me during that time that she was taking care of me as a young kid is what is instilled in me still today. It's my hard work, my loyalty, and my work ethic that keeps the deals coming my way and keeps our clients happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
so,
you said 4'9" grandmother?
4'9", yeah.
And you guys may not be, if you're watching this, you may not be able to see Dave's not 4'9". Dave, how tall are you?
I'm 6'4", but my grandfather was 6'4" as well, so I take after him.
So it sounds like you definitely had some great role models in your life. Unfortunately, not a father figure, but people that were able to step in and still teach you the work ethic and a lot of those good principles.
Yes, I was always required to search and find those role models, those mentors, because I didn't have one naturally built into the household. And I'm very fortunate. I've had great role models. I've had bad role models. And I've learned more from the bad role models sometimes than the good, because it taught me what not to do.
Yeah.
And as I've been in this industry for 30 years, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have. If you remember the Facts of Life show, there's things that you learn along the way that make you who you are today. And I feel that at this point in my life, we're on a great path.
Awesome. So, Dave, how'd you get into real estate?
So I came out of college with a finance degree. I was working for a financial services firm in downtown Chicago. I'm 22 years old on the 35th floor of a beautiful building in downtown Chicago. I hated the job. 12 months into this job, I said to my wife, I need to leave. I need to do something else. And I brought my wife from Arizona to Chicago in 1995. And she said, "You're leaving your job for what we came here for?" I said, "Yes, but give me an opportunity. I'm going to be a real estate salesperson of commercial real estate." I went from a job with benefits and salary to a 100% commission. The first year, I made 50% of what I did my first year out of college. So it was a struggle, but it's turned out because I've been able to write my own destiny, build my own path. And as everyone knows, the entrepreneurs, we get to choose whatever 60 hours a week we want to work. Sometimes
60,
it's
60, that's it?
Yeah. Well, a part-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it goes. You do what you have to do when you're an entrepreneur. And that's what I love about this industry.
I want to dive into that first year of you deciding to make this jump and betting on yourself, because I think that's what prevents a lot of people from making that jump. Just the fear of the unknown and knowing that they might be leaving a very stable, secure job, good salary, good benefits. Obviously, you have no regrets looking back, but as you reflect back during that first year, what were some of the biggest lessons that you walked away from by choosing to bet on yourself?
Well, every time you make a major change in your life, you have to assess the risk that you're going to be undertaking. And there was huge risk. My wife didn't know anybody in Chicago except for my family. I was giving up some solid foundation while she was just getting her education career started. I knew we were going to struggle at first, but she believed in me and I believed in myself. And between 100 cold calls a week and prospecting in the western suburbs of Chicago, I built a database over a quick 4 years working for a family-owned real estate office that allowed me to double and triple my salary almost every year.
Wow.
To the point, after 1996, starting in the industry, by 2001, I opened my own company because I was at the glass ceiling of this family-owned office. So in a short period of time, I was able to build a great database of clients. I was selling multi-tenant investment properties all over the western suburbs of Chicago. And then we also did the property management as well. So early on in my career, I started to learn learn the fundamentals of deals, how to buy them, how to finance them, and ultimately how to sell them as well. The most important part was then the operations of owning a property, which is why we got heavily involved with property management. We still do that today. We still manage our own properties. We do also have an opportunity to manage third-party properties for other investors that are not in our portfolio. Our philosophy and our systems are able to be replicated over any type of asset, real estate asset there is.
That's huge, because that's being able to have not only a system in place, but something that you can replicate and implement into other areas. That doesn't happen overnight. No. So share with us a little bit about that journey and that experience, maybe some of the lessons you learned along the way of getting to this point of actually being able to systematize that.
So just like the nervousness and the risk of leaving the full-time job, going into 100% commission, that risk and nervousness came about during my first loan that I was going to undertake. I was able to put $10,000 in with two other partners, and we bought an apartment building in Chicago. And I told my partners, this is what it's going to take physically to handle one of these properties. So I made my two partners show up one night, and we were going to repaint and remodel an apartment ourselves. As long as they understood what we were doing, they could understand how the cash flow was going to work through it. One of my partners immediately said, I'll pay whatever it costs. I'm not doing this again. So that was fine. He knew his role at that point. But the other two of us, we went hands-on as well on the construction side. And that's where I learned the third trait is the construction side of our business. So not only do we buy the properties, we manage the properties, we handle all of our own construction in-house. That's why we're called the Streamlined Companies, 3 entities, vertically integrated under one umbrella.
And being able to be vertically integrated allows you to have much more control. And you're implementing your system, you're implementing your process. Now, I grew up in a home where my grandfather owned a bunch of multifamily units in upstate New York, and my father was a landlord. He managed them. So growing up, it was nice. I always had a summer job and always had a way to make money, but I hated it because that was my view. Like your one partner that was like, I never want to do this again. I got to that point when by the time I graduated, that was my view of real estate. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. This is terrible. But it didn't cross my mind that I could actually own and operate until down the road. But looking back, I'm very, very grateful for those opportunities to get in and do that work and learn those skill sets. So growing and scaling the way you guys did and being hands-on and getting them dirty and doing that construction, what are some of the biggest takeaways that you've and your team have experienced because of that? Opportunity.
Being vertically integrated opens the door to more opportunities than if we were to bring in third-party consultants. We know if there's a water leak right away. We know if there's been a major expense or a major repair that needs to be done. We don't wait 30 or 45 days to get a report from an outside property management firm. When we do that and we're hands-on, we're able to communicate with the tenants quicker. We're able to keep them happier. Ultimately, when tenants are happy, they pay the rent on time. And as they see us improving the property, working at the property, they're willing to pay more rents as well because we're giving them a better home for their business.
And all this has been, I mean, you've been doing that in total for 30 years now, but by the time you really started scaling and getting into a position that you were like, okay, this is it, we've made it, what time frame was that at?
Probably '07, so maybe about 6 years into the development investment cycle for our own company.
Okay.
2007, we were rocking and rolling. I could call up my local lender in the western suburbs of Chicago, and within a day I could have a loan approved for almost any amount that I wanted to do because they knew our cycle, they knew our process, and they knew we were going to perform. It wasn't until the downturn of 2008, 2009 when things started turning bad for us.
So let's talk about that, because that's based on our conversation we had before we started. That's around the time you started raising capital and bringing in inside investors. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so from 2001 to 2008, we self-financed everything. We would take the profit from a single-family flip, take a profit from a multi-family sale, and roll it into the next project. In 2008, everybody knows the great downturn of the recession. We dug hole for a foundation of a townhome development in Brookfield, Illinois. When we dug that hole, the whole economy fell into that hole. So
it's your fault.
It's my fault, yeah. We had a $4 million construction loan for a beautiful townhome development that we couldn't sell a unit on.
Wow.
So it wasn't until the end of 2008 where we came up with a plan with our local lender. He wasn't going to take TARP money at the time. That was a big thing for banks to take government bailouts. He didn't want to do that. He said, Dave, we're going to figure this out together. And we restructured the loan. He gave me an aggressive interest rate, gave me the rest of the money to finish the project, and then we pivoted. Instead of selling these townhomes, we created rentals. And from 2009, when I finished the project, till 2013, we rented those units till the market came back and we were able to sell. Now, instead of being a 2-year project, it was probably a 5-6-year project, but the bank came out whole. I came out whole, had a little profit as well, but there were some hard years in between that. January 2009, the one partner that was in the trades with me, he had a heart attack and died unexpectedly. The first partner had left the company in about 2007, and so there I was, January 21st, 2009, with no partner, $4 million in debt, not really understanding the construction like I do today. So it was really that time period of my life when the construction came to reality within me. And it was great because we had some great tradesmen working for us that were pretty much family. They were with us for the first 8 years of our business. So they taught me what they were doing. I understood blueprints, but because I never did construction as a kid, I really didn't understand and appreciate what they were doing. So I got in there, boots on the ground. I would wake up probably at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would take care of any administrative work I had to in the office. I'd be on the job site by 7:30, work with these guys, figure out what we needed to do to get this built so we can rent them, so we can make the mortgage at the end of the month for the bank that just restructured this loan for us. Then I'd get home probably 5, 6 o'clock at night. I'd do the family thing. We had young kids at the time. And by 8, 9, 10 o'clock when the kids were in bed, I was back in my office in my house taking care of whatever I needed to.
That's the stuff people don't see on the outside. So when they look at Dave and what you've created and they say, oh, that must be nice, like Dave got lucky. No. I mean, you just shared that process you went through, losing 2 partners in a short period of time, trying to restructure this debt, getting boots on the ground, staying up late, still trying to be a family man as well, which is very, very difficult. Paul and I are in the middle of that right now. I've got 4 kids between the ages of 2 and 11. Paul's got 5, bless his heart. So real quick, just on that note, because I know there's people listening to this that are probably struggling with that balance between trying to crush it in their business and grow their business while also handling other family responsibilities. So what was one of the things you did back then to help manage that the best you could?
It was tough. It was really tough. It's almost like the iceberg, right? You see this beautiful iceberg above the water. You don't see what's below the water. And a lot of people don't see that. And there's so many other operators of real estate out there in the world right now. What I like to tell potential clients, when you're speaking with other operators, ask them about their worst deal. Don't ask them about the good stuff. I can tell you, yeah, we can get 20% IRR every year. We can get some great tax advantages. Tell me what happens when things go wrong and they don't go according to the plan.
Yeah.
And I tell them this exact story. Personally, $4 million in debt, couldn't sell a unit, had to pivot and rent, and ultimately taking 5 years on a project instead of just being in and out in 2 years. There was a lot of months where I had to come out of pocket on shortfall because sometimes we had a vacancy or the rents didn't cover everything or a real estate tax bill came through. And I had to figure out other ways to supplement the income. The best partner in my life is my wife. 31 years of marriage this past January. She's been with me through this whole process, through the ups, the downs. And what I have as advice to anybody coming up the ranks is be present. There were so many times that I would come home 5, 6 o'clock for dinner with the family or go to a school function. I was there, but I wasn't really there. And it wasn't until my kids were maybe teenagers and we moved out here to Arizona and I was traveling back and forth to Chicago every other week that I realized I'm missing my family time. I'm missing my family growing and becoming something, and I'm not there. So we moved to Arizona in 2012. I'd say for the first 4 or 5 years, every other week I would commute back to Chicago because that's where my construction business was. It's where my real estate was. And it took me a while to build a network out here in Arizona. But now everything in Chicago is done and gone except for one multi-tenant medical building that I've owned. And we're very happy with that. So be present is what I have to say to most people. And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Now I understand how to do it a little bit easier. But getting away from our phones, putting the phones down.
Hey, Dallon here. I wanted to take a quick second to give you something special, something I wish I had when I first started raising capital. So whether you're raising your first million or next million, you're likely losing leads somewhere in your capital raising funnel, but you're not quite sure where. You have holes in your bucket and water is flowing out, but you can't seem to locate the holes to patch them. Or even worse, you're not even aware that the holes exist. Is it during your first touch, your follow-up, your pitch? Here's what I have for you that I wish I had when I got started. It's called a conversion compass. It helps you pinpoint exactly where your bottleneck is in your lead funnel and where investors are likely dropping off so you can stop guessing and start closing. It takes less than 3 minutes to complete. Text COMPASS to 623-624-1190 and I'll send it right to your phone. Again, COMPASS to 623-624-1190 so you can patch those holes ASAP. Now let's get back to the show.
We're going to be grandparents in probably the next 5 years, and I can't wait to get to roll. I can't wait to get to roll on the ground and wrestle with my grandkids. My first daughter's getting married in a month, 4 weeks from Saturday.
Congrats.
Thank
That's
you very
exciting.
much. Yeah, so we're at that next phase of our lives, right? We're empty nesters. We've done everything we needed to do, but now I'm back with passion, helping people build their own real estate portfolio passively.
And I appreciate you sharing that, by the way. And presence is probably one of the most difficult things for me to get a grip on. And it's hard. Like your feet are somewhere, but your mind is somewhere else. So I do appreciate you sharing that.
And it's even worse today with our phones. Back in 2001, 2009, in that area, iPhones just came out in 2008, I believe. So we had a BlackBerry. we maybe get some AOL email through that BlackBerry, but we're being hit up with so much noise right now between text message, LinkedIn messaging, emails, phone calls, WhatsApp messages. I can go through probably 5 different services of people trying to contact me, and it's really hard to stay present in what you're trying to do when you're being forced to listen to all the noise.
Paul and I connected with a 20-year-old RV park operator. He's actually based here in Arizona. 20 years old, met him a few weeks ago in Salt Lake. We go to exchange contact. He pulls out a flip phone out of his pocket and he starts putting it in. And I noticed it right away and I didn't say anything. And then we followed up afterwards and I was like, Jared, I'm assuming that phone is by choice. And he's like, absolutely. He's like, I got no TV at home, no internet at home, absolutely zero social media. If I need the internet, it's at the office waiting for me. And he operates out of a flip phone.
Old school.
20 years old.
That's amazing.
So I have a mission to get him here in the studio and just hear about his story, because I could only imagine he's seen the negative impact that a lot of this technology and not being able to disconnect has caused people the inability to actually connect with people. So
many restaurants right now have great signs out there. Put your phones away, pretend it's 1985.
Yeah.
And it's great. One of my great clients today has a flip phone and doesn't want anything to do with social media. It's difficult in our world to not have that and be connected all the time. And those people that are able to do it, I applaud them.
I know exactly who you're talking about, because I chatted with him one time when he pulled it out, and I was just like, dang, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, this is excellent. And let's get into, so you took a break. You decided to retire back in 2021 for a little bit. So let's get into that story, that experience a little bit, and what it was that ultimately brought you back into this world of investing and raising capital.
Yeah, well, it was an unexpected retirement. You know, when you start in this industry young, you're like, all right, I want to be a millionaire by 30. I want to own multiple homes by this age. You set crazy goals and see where you end up. I always thought I'd be retired by the time I was 50. Well, on my 49th birthday, I was in Puerto Vallarta. I was thrown off a horse. My horse took off galloping down the beach. It immediately stopped on a dime, threw me over the front of the horse. I landed onto the wet side of the sand, which was like cement, and I had a collapsed lung. I got back on the horse, finally got it to trot back to our hotel, but I couldn't breathe. I went upstairs, took a shower. I was covered in sand. I thought maybe I just bruised something. Well, when I couldn't breathe, I told my wife, you need to please call a doctor. And I'm in Puerto Vallarta. I speak Spanish, but not perfectly. And I went to the hospital, and they said, you've got a collapsed lung. They had to put a chest tube in. And I was in the hospital for 3 days. And by the time I got out, the doctor said, I advise you not to fly for 2 more weeks to allow your lung full time to heal. I said, Doc, it's December 10th. I'm not staying here till Christmas. So for the first time in my life, I was afraid. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, I was never afraid. Head on a swivel, I knew what to look out for. But this time I didn't know what to look out for. So I got on the plane in Puerto Vallarta for a 2-hour flight back to Phoenix. I held my wife's hand for 2 hours. Didn't say a word. Landed. I said, I'm done. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm retiring. I didn't enjoy my life. I want to now. And for 10 months, my wife and I traveled the world together. It was the beginning of our empty nesting career. And we had a blast. We reconnected for the first time since we were newlyweds. But I realized I missed something. I missed helping people. Because of 2011 through 2021, we were raising funds. And we were giving double-digit returns to investors. We were giving great tax advantages to investors. And I missed helping people. So around October 22, my current partner, Scott Roney, came to me and said, Dave, I'm looking for a new challenge. He was a 30-year corporate attorney, Fortune 500 attorney. He said, I'm looking for a new challenge. I said, Scott, it's great timing because so am I. I want to reinvigorate what I loved doing the most, which is helping people create wealth through real estate. And that's when we formed the Streamlined Capital Group at my 50th birthday party. We shook hands that day. We were incorporated a couple weeks later. And January 23, we were off to the races. And within the first 6 months of being in business under Streamlined Capital, we purchased a $5 million asset here in Phoenix, raised $1.5 million. We still own that asset today. We've converted it from a $16 square foot gross rental property to $18 triple net. And those terms may not mean a lot to a lot of people, but basically it's about a 50% increase in income because we put money into the building, we invested, and we did everything under our umbrella of buying it, building it, and managing it appropriately. And that philosophy of the Streamlined Companies has helped us raise about $5 million over the last 3 years. We just closed our most recent deal here in Tempe in February, and we're looking to close on 2 more deals this year as well.
Man, That's super exciting. I got to ask, when you look back at that accident that happened in Mexico, do you ever wonder or think about what life would be like today had that not happened? And if so, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, well, I don't always think about what it would have been if it didn't happen. I think about what could have happened if it was worse. Christopher Reeve, Superman, got thrown off a horse, never walked again, never ate food again. I think about that. And that fear instills me to want to do more for not only my family, but for other people as well. So not only are we out there helping people make double-digit returns, tax advantages, I believe in philanthropy as well. I'm the board chairman of a local nonprofit. It's a 50-year-old organization. I give a lot of my time and money back to this organization because it helps Alzheimer's and dementia sufferers. And remember that 4'9" grandmother?
Yeah.
At the end of her life, she didn't know who I was because of dementia. So every opportunity I have, if I'm not at work, I'm promoting Oakwood Creative Care in some fashion, some way. So I don't think about if it didn't happen. I think of what could have happened even worse. And I'm fortunate that I was able to recover within a few months. I did break a rib through that collapsed lung process. Hurt like hell for a while. But I'm better off today because it happened.
And it sounds like it created an opportunity for you to reconnect with your wife that may not have happened.
Absolutely.
At that accident.
Yeah. So every month for 10 months, we traveled somewhere, whether it was local here in the country or internationally. Even if it was a 4-day weekend getaway, we just went places we didn't and couldn't before because we were raising a family.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, Dave, as we wrap this up, what's exciting? What's new? What's exciting? What's happening with Streamlined that you're looking forward to?
Yeah. So actually, 1 year ago right now is when I decided to focus my clientele base on business professionals and professional athletes. So I built a huge network of current and retired professional athletes and a huge network of medical professionals teaching everybody about how to invest in real estate without the risk. Let us deal with the tenants and toilets, become a passive investor, still obtain the tax benefits that are available as direct ownership. So Streamlined Capital Group right now is on a trajectory to hit all of my goals over the next 5 years. Streamlined Development, our construction company and our development side, man, we've got some great things going there. I've been fortunate enough to deal with the owners of the Potato Barn furniture stores. I've built 2 100,000 square foot retail warehouse stores for them. We just broke ground on another 50,000 square foot warehouse. And then in a few more months, we're going to break ground on something that is not here in the Southeast Valley of Mesa. It's going to be called the Nox, N-O-X. It means Italian goddess of the night, Italian mythology. The Nox is going to be a 2,000-person indoor music venue here in Mesa, right next to the Potato Barn on Ray Road. We have worked behind the scenes for 4 years building this process, finally have our building permits, just waiting to finalize the loan and some value engineering ideas to bring the budget down. But the amount of information I've learned over the last 4 years about a music venue and recording and lights and sound and food and beverage, it's been amazing. And I'm super excited to break ground on this one. We're going to have a huge party when it happens. Public officials are asking me when it's happening so that everyone can be involved. And it's going to serve 2,000 people a night for a great concert, whether it be comedy, music. We have flexible floor plans to do dinner theater, corporate events during the day. So this is something really cool that I've never done before. And that's what's great about this industry. There's always something new to keep learning on.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely let us know. We'd love to extend that invite out to our list. Do you guys have an estimated completion date for the Nox?
So once we do start, it will be 18 months.
Okay.
So if we start in April or May of this year, we're looking probably October 2027.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
it's going to be great. It's going to be really cool, unlike anything here in Arizona right now.
Awesome. Dave, as we wrap this up, as you think back on your journey and just the flow you've created in your life and the flow you're experiencing now, what advice could you share with somebody that might be where you were 10, 15 years ago?
Never be afraid to bet on yourself. Take the chance, take the risk. You can always recover. When I was losing on that townhome development, I was $4 million in debt. I could have easily filed bankruptcy. That would have haunted me for 7 years, and I wouldn't have been able to do any deals. But I bet on myself. I went into the banker, and we restructured the loan together. And when it was time to start raising capital, I bet on myself. I started pounding the pavement, meeting with people. I had a good clientele base because I sold the investment properties for a number of years. But it all starts with friends and family networking.
Yeah.
And then building from there. I never thought I'd be hanging out with multimillionaire professional athletes, but I have conversations with probably 4 of them every day. I'll be speaking here at the an upcoming event here with a bunch of athletes in a few weeks and hanging out with 350 retired professional athletes. Never thought I'd have that opportunity. So bet on yourself. Take the chance. You can always recover.
Yeah. Love it. Dave, what's the best way people can connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn, David J. Hrizak, Hrizak. Email address, djh@thestreamlinecompanies.com.
Awesome. And it's Hrizak, not Hrzak.
Correct. Get that H in there, please.
Awesome. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming in and sharing your story. And really appreciated the insights. So thank you.
Dallon. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
And to our listeners, we'll catch you on the next Capital Flow podcast.